Do you think a food truck would be like, or would just be better because people understand what a food truck is more than a food
Yes.
trailer?
Hello, this is Randy Twyford, and welcome to On Cue the Mic. And
Yeah. There you
wait
go.
a second. Where the
Yeah.
hell's Darren?
No kidding. He decided to go fishing
Oh,
without
really?
us. Yeah. And
Ah,
he's a poor planner. So we got a text. Oh, what was it? I think Wednesday night. Pretty late. And Darren's like, hey, I leave first thing in the morning for Canada for a week and a half. And we hadn't recorded yet. So this week you just get me and Randy.
but it's going to be a chock full session of information and dialogue.
Yeah, we're going to try.
Oh, yeah, we'll do it. Let's face it, we're both bullshitters, so we got it covered. So I wanted to ask you, for everybody that's watching on YouTube, who's your associate behind you? Is that a security guard or what?
Pretty much. My dog, Twyla, is hanging out with me today. She does that quite often. Since I've rearranged my office space with my guest room, the guest bed is Twyla's bed, so she sits there pretty much all the time.
Okay.
Just likes to watch over, see what I'm doing.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that. Not a thing wrong with that. So
yeah, I agree. So yeah, what's up, Randy? What's been going on?
Well, we have been like mega busy with the food truck. We've had a few caterings this week, but in 4 days we did 6 events.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
And yeah, we did a regular food truck event on Tuesday. Then Wednesday we did our Jacksonville location. And then on Thursday, we did 2 deals. We did a regular event, and then we did our 11 amp music concert series, which this was the second one of them. The first one we did was very busy, and I mean, was kind of a challenge, but we made it through. We only had 3 people on the truck, and so I took a chance and bumped it up to 4 people. And I'm glad I did, because again, it was really busy. And then you hear us talk about how good all these events are, and I'm the same way. You hear people talk about all the good ones, but it's like, so everything you do is good. You don't ever have any bad ones. Well, Friday we had bad ones. We had some slow.
Oh, no.
Very, very slow.
Yeah.
One of them was a new one, so we were trying to figure that, first time out on that, and it's a new event. And then the second one should have been busy. It was busy the week before, but it wasn't busy this week. So, I mean, you can't.
It's interesting how that works.
Yeah.
Or how that goes, I feel like.
Now, the thing of it is, I talked to the organizer of the second one on Friday, and their crowd was down quite a bit. So that had quite a bit. But then another vendor there sold out. They had lines and stuff, and for some reason, people weren't into barbecue, or at least ours, that night. So been busy with that, and then coming up this week, we've got the Illinois FFA convention, which it's a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday event, and Tuesday from 11 to 6:30, Wednesday 11 to 2, Thursday 11 to 1, and then we go into our concert series and stuff for the week for Thursday evening and Friday. But the FFA convention is down our biggest events we have of the year. I mean,
that makes sense.
It's all these kids that come in from throughout the state for their convention, and there's a lot of restaurants in downtown Springfield, but a lot of times they don't have time to go to them. Or, I mean, there's a Subway down the street, but you can imagine
Yeah.
that Subway just boom fills up
Yeah.
completely up. And
Yeah.
I've always heard it's one of the biggest conventions for downtown Springfield. So
Oh yeah.
we'll be gearing up. We're in production on meat and stuff to kind of have enough backup and stuff. So
That'll be good. That'll be
but
good. How have things been going at? Oh, what's up?
I had another something come up. Had an
Okay.
interesting conversation with Amy Mills of 17th Street Barbecue in Murfreesboro. She's daughter of Mike Mills, the legend, and good friends of ours. And there was, what store is it? It's Harvest Market, grocery store in Springfield, big grocery store, and today, yesterday was Feed the Customer Day, and where they had all their vendors come in and sampled out food and stuff, and Amy was there.
Mhm.
And had a real nice visit with her, and remind people that towards the latter part of September, they're having their Praise the Lord barbecue contest again. Matter of fact, let me look up real quick what the date is, because I wrote it down.
Okay.
And but
Yeah.
that's always a big event, and people, it's September 20th and 21st. It's a Friday, Saturday deal. Saturday being, and it's a dual. It's going to be a KCBS contest, and Darren always comes down to it. So it'll be a KCBS contest.
Yeah.
It's a Memphis in May, our Memphis Barbecue Network. So you can see people doing the presentations, doing whole hogs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then there's a steak contest, steak cook-off contest on Friday night. And then she was saying that I think she said with the Illinois Soybean Association, they're having a contest of between 4 contests. It's a points thing here in Illinois, and around 4 contests, and Murfreesboro is going to be the final contest, and it's going to be the one that determines the winner, and they'll pass out the awards for that. And it's a deal of how many points, total points of pork, chicken, ribs, and brisket, and then an accumulative of that all the way through the 4 contests that are held throughout the state. I don't know where any of the others were, but real interesting talking to Amy. She does a lot of social media work, so if anybody's out there, look up 17th Street Barbecue and Amy Mills, and she does a lot of that stuff, social media for the Southern Illinois Tourism Group, and so
cool.
She's got a lot going on, and real nice. Had a nice visit with her. So, but it's funny, some of the trials and tribulations that she's going through, and that is the same as we all are. I mean, it's I talked to a good friend of mine that has a barbecue place in Chicago over this past week, and same deal. You know, one of the things is on weddings. He's saying their weddings are slowing up some. How many weddings they're having, and he's saying that their Saturdays are already booked. Their Saturdays are booked.
Yeah.
But they have a lot of weddings on Fridays and Mondays up there. Mondays or Sundays? It might have been
Mondays?
Sundays. They've had some at one time. They were having them. They were having them on Mondays because the venues don't have any. There's not enough room for venues.
I guess that's fair.
I mean, that's the biggest thing. The reason why they're even doing Fridays. He says they do a lot of weddings on Friday afternoons, Friday evenings, just because the venues don't have any place for them to use.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
And I think somebody made comment to me that they thought the weddings might be softening up some and venues becoming more accessible because we're out of COVID for a while. You know, people couldn't have weddings during COVID, of course.
Right.
And so we had a lot canceled and stuff, and I know Darren did too because of.
Yeah.
And so now then the last year and a half or so, they've got caught up on them. So pretty interesting.
I mean, I guess that makes some sense.
Yeah.
It is pretty
So,
interesting.
yeah, I'd
I was
encourage
just gonna
people to go out
ask.
there.
Yeah, I agree. I was just gonna ask how things are going at the Circle K, because you
They're
said you
going
kind of
good.
struggled when you came back.
Well, when we came
Good.
back, the Circle K it did pretty good the first week, and then last week,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's typical Circle K. We're slow during the afternoon, and then
Mm-hmm.
so much of our business is of an evening, and we
Yeah.
hit our numbers that we needed to hit that we had projected. So I'm happy. So
Of an evening. That's good.
of an
That's
evening,
good.
yeah.
Of an evening. Um. Well, so for today's episode, we had a couple of Randy questions sent in, and so I
Okay.
thought, what better time to answer those than when Darren wasn't here to take over. So yeah, as he does. But anyway, so the first one that we got for you, Randy, was when you look at your business from like a wide view, where do you see, areas of improvement, and how do you plan to address those?
Well, a couple things
Mm-hmm.
is
Okay.
inventory management. Uh, I've had a couple software programs that did inventory management.
Yeah.
They're pretty expensive.
Yeah.
They did a pretty good job. It's all based on doing inventory. I mean,
Mhm.
all the inventory managements and if you go to some of these seminars and stuff, you got to do inventory Monday morning before you open.
Right.
And when I was doing that, we were doing pretty good on what we had. We wouldn't run out of stuff.
Right.
You get too much of when you want to take order or place your grocery order for the week. I forget what the acronym was, but it's just walking around aimlessly, WRA or something like that, where
Uh-huh.
you just walk around your storeroom, your freezer, your cooler, okay, there's supposed to be bacon pieces right there, or there's supposed to
Uh-huh.
be shredded cheddar, and then just like for myself, I'm also bumping up what I'm doing, how much stuff I'm going to need. Now, one thing I do is we have worksheets that come out of we use a software called Total Party Planner, and
Oh yeah.
we use that, and we use that for on the food truck and for caterings,
Mm-hmm.
and it tells us how much of what we're going to need. So I'll
Right.
run that on a Monday, or excuse me, on a Sunday, and I use that to go out and do my orders, kind of give me an idea. But still, it runs into trouble. The other thing is, and what we're really running into trouble now on, and it's a good problem, is we're getting low on meat, on all of our proteins. So
Mm-hmm.
because we're busier than what we thought we were going to be, and so we start
Yeah.
getting into it. So what I need to do and at the same time, besides groceries, it's also on
Mm-hmm.
stocking the food truck, because you can only put so much stuff on that truck.
Yeah.
And when you get out, I mean, if we're in Jacksonville, we can run home and get something. But
Yeah.
if when we're in Springfield, it makes it tough. If
Right.
we need more or something, and the worst part of it is if we're about halfway through an event, like if we're halfway through the deal with the FFA convention and we're running out of stuff, it's still got to be baked. It's still got to be run through the oven, through the barbecue pit, and
Right.
the amount of time. So, and then you got to run back home and
Yeah.
get it, and what I've
Right.
done is call Marla and have her start stuff. But usually by the time you realize you're going to be out and you run out and decide you're going to try to save the day with it, you're going to be too late.
Right.
And so I guess what I'm looking at is being able to get better at projecting of what we're going to need on the food truck.
Mm-hmm.
and we've
That
got
makes
kind of
sense.
sloppy at it. I'll admit it. I mean, we need to get better at watching our inventory levels on the truck, and from not just the food stuff, but the paper goods. And because
Yeah.
the paper goods take up so much space on that truck, you get limited on space. And
Right.
we'll probably bring a supply truck with us up there this week, especially for Tuesday, where we'll have extra product and stuff that there's a good chance we're going to need, and especially paper goods. We'll take a van up and have extra paper goods and things like that in it. So,
That makes sense.
but
Yeah.
but I need to start
Sorry.
getting better at just sitting down and looking at the total picture and going, okay, we got this much coming up. We're going to have to use this much. So I try to be too conservative. It's like, I don't want to have stuff sitting around, but at the same time, if you don't have it, you're not going to sell it.
Right. That's fair. So, like with the you said that you've been running out of meat. How do you kind of, I don't know how to word my question necessarily, but how do you kind of monitor or like go about ordering that stuff when you don't want to over order just because you had like 1 week where you ran out, you know? Or
Well,
but you also want to be prepared just in case it happens again?
kind of goes back, Emma, to what I just said. Is I'd rather have
Yeah,
it on hand
I guess
and
that's
not
fair. Yeah.
and have it. And
With
so what I do is, where I've slacked off
mhm.
is I haven't went in the cooler and run that much, kept up on the inventory levels in the cooler of what
Okay.
meat we have that we'll
Yeah.
rethermalize on the truck or before we go to an event. And
Mhm.
the guys do that, loading up the truck, and sometimes they'll forget to say something to me that, hey, we're almost out of brisket, we're almost out of pulled pork. Like, I knew we were
Yeah.
running low on pulled pork. We're not running low. We would have enough pork to last us this week, but I don't
Got
want
it.
to take a chance of running low on it, especially with the FFA convention, and we've got a catering on Saturday that we need to make sure we have stuff for, and so just making sure those levels stay the same. But the whole
Got it.
there's software out there that does a great job of it, but it all boils down to taking the time and doing the inventory on
Yeah.
Sunday or Monday before you open up.
Right.
And the other thing that
Right.
does is help you get your good cost of goods sold, give you your food cost
Mhm.
and that, because you've got, okay, I brought this much in, I sold this much this week, and then I had so much in sales. So here's how much we made, our food cost actually was, and you can keep track of it on a weekly basis. So instead of doing it at a monthly basis, so it's at the end of the month, you're like, oh shit, my food cost has went up. Well, you've went 30 days with it being high, and then you got to fix it. As of, if you do your inventory every week, it'll keep you closer on what your costs are and stuff.
Yeah. That makes sense. That makes sense. Um, and then another one of your questions was do you plan on adding more food trucks or exploring that option
At this point in my
to the
life,
biz?
probably no, because one of these days I'll want to retire or slow down or whatever,
Right.
and God only knows.
You're
So I
not
don't
old
want
enough
to
for
take,
that, Randy.
huh?
You're not old enough for that yet.
Well, I know. I'm getting closer. I see friends of mine retiring, and I'm like, I ought to think about retiring one of these days. But
Nah,
I
you never will.
I never
I
will.
don't
You're
think you will.
exactly right. You're exactly right.
Yeah.
But
You can D-dub both.
yeah, we're both kind of two peas in the pod. So as far as
Yeah, you're
expanding,
something.
huh?
Hmm. No, I said, yeah,
So
you're something. That's for sure.
as far as expanding in food trucks, no, and probably the biggest reason, not probably, the biggest
Hmm.
reason that we wouldn't expand and get other food trucks is because of labor.
Okay, that makes sense.
You know, I have to look at I'm scheduling stuff into the fall now for the food truck,
Mm-hmm.
or people are wanting to, and I'm having to hold off on some stuff because I know the second week in August, I lose all my football players. They start
Right.
practice. And I still got Matt, that's one the basketball player. I've got him,
Yeah.
and then till about the third week or fourth week in August, and then he's gone. So,
Mm-hmm.
but what I'll be doing, so my labor is going to be down. Then it's just Marla and I. We got people. The Lawless Girls can help us on the weekends, which is great. So we've got some Saturday and Sunday events that we're going to be doing. And but we'll slow down. But I don't want people not to think don't call and check, because there's sometimes, depending on what the event is, we can do it. And and we'll still be doing catering and everything. The catering really revs up during the fall. We got a lot of fall weddings and stuff like that, and doing a lot of fundraiser type things for Wetlands Unlimited, kind of a Ducks Unlimited type
cool.
deal. So
that's cool.
But yeah, that's the biggest thing is the labor. If we had some extra, if we had the help, good help, I might think about throwing another truck on, because there's some times we could use it.
Right.
We can talk about this now with Darren, not on the call, since on the podcast, because he'd be sending me some kind of deal to buy his truck. I know. So if he when he catches wind of this, he'll have a deal to
he'll shoot you a message.
Yeah, I'm sure
he won't listen to this. He'll never know. He will never know.
You don't think he'll listen?
He will not listen to this episode. No, he does not listen to this podcast.
Okay.
He won't listen.
Then we're safe.
So you can say it. Yeah.
And it's kind of like opening up a restaurant. I have people every day say, when are you going to open up a restaurant? Are you going to open up? And
right.
If it was probably 10 years ago, I would have thought about it pretty heavy. And then Darren would have kicked me in the ass and talked me out of it.
He said that on this podcast.
Yeah. And so I probably wouldn't have. Well, that's part of the reason I didn't. He's just like, don't do it. He said, if you're ever going to listen to me, he says, you've got a pretty sweet deal going now. So why ask for trouble? And you've worked in the deal. You understand that too. So
yeah, that's true. That's true. I guess I could lead to like is there anything that you would go back and change if you could change anything? Like, let's go back to day one or when you started. Would you do anything differently?
Yeah, I would have spent them. There's several. I mean, there's a lot of things.
Okay, let's hear
it. Some I'll talk about, some I don't want to talk about.
Okay.
And as far as the food truck goes, I probably would have just spent the money in the very beginning and had one manufactured for us like we did, and it be exactly what we want. And I did once. I had a trailer built for us, but I would have just had a food truck, a regular food truck built for us, and because Darren and I mean, and everybody argues, is a trailer or a food truck better? I like a food truck instead of a food trailer. It has its advantages and it has its disadvantages. But and I did have a gooseneck trailer built for us, and then I decided I wanted a food truck, and so full manufacture. So they made one of them, and then that's when we sold the trailer. But I would have probably, if I could have decided on doing the food truck in the very beginning, and we've came out all right. I'm not going to say we got filthy rich off every one of them, but we didn't take that bad of a bath on them, so.
Do you feel like do you think a food truck would be like, or would just be better because people understand what a food truck is more than a food
Yes.
trailer. Does that make sense?
Yes, when
Do
I
you
had
think
a
that
food
played a
when
factor
I
in
had
it?
a food trailer, it used to piss me off.
Uh-huh.
I mean, the food trailer I had was, I mean, we had a pit on the back of it, and I mean, in the food truck we
Yeah.
have a pit inside also. But I had everything on that food trailer that I've got on this food truck, and I don't know how many times I'd hear somebody go, "Oh, it's just a food trailer. It's just a trailer," and it's like,
Yeah.
you know,
Interesting.
it's got everything on it that this food truck has on it, but it's just the mobility of it. And the nice part of it is being able to just pull in someplace and you're ready to go. You don't have to park and all,
Yeah.
you know, and all that.
Set up.
And everything. And then, not that we're going to parallel park something, but you can park it in
Yeah.
and you don't have to, okay, now I got to unhook from the truck. I got to have enough room to get in there with the tow truck on it.
Yeah.
And then getting it out of there. And then when you get ready to go, you got to get hooked back up. As of with a food truck, you close the doors, bring the tables in, shut the door, and you're ready to go.
Yeah. I just feel like I don't ever see food trailers, at least not around here.
But
obviously there's food trucks everywhere.
There's more food trailers down here than there is food trucks.
Interesting. What do you think that is?
I don't know. I really don't know. I think you can get into a food trailer a lot less money than you can a food truck because you're not buying a truck. But and a lot of people have a pickup that they can pull a trailer with anyway. So they can get into it for a little less money, for quite a bit less money than, but on the other hand, it's nice having that food truck or food trailer because you can pull it with a truck. Like we used to pull that trailer. We had a dually, which was another story, which dealing with that in tight parking and just a friggin' mess. And especially as good as I drive. And but it was a 4-door, so I mean you could take your whole crew with you and take one vehicle. And then if you got there, you got unhooked. If you needed something, you had a vehicle to go get something. As of with a food truck, if you get there, and I can take 3 of us can go in the food truck. It's tight. Some of the big boys, as they saw from the videos last week, you know, it fills up the cab some. And we've actually had 4 in it before, a couple skinny guys in it, and it was tight. But you have that truck, the food truck. If you get there and you need something else, unless you have a backup, somebody with a truck with it, you're screwed.
Yeah. Right.
So it's kind of a preference
pros
deal.
And cons.
Huh? Yeah, it really does. It really does. But there's more. I can tell you, there's more food trailers down here than there are food trucks. Matter of fact, in the Springfield area, there's only us and Potbelly Sandwich Company. They have a food truck, and Casa Real, one of the Hispanic Mexican restaurants, has a food truck. So I guess really there's only 3 of us that have true food trucks, and the rest of them are all trailers.
Yeah, I'm trying to think because there's a lot of food trucks on the south side, but I think they're all trucks. I don't.
Now, why is there so many on the south side of Des Moines?
I don't know. We have. I think I can think of probably 4 at least that are all parked in one spot pretty much year round.
And is it a food truck park, or is it just alongside the road? Or?
No, they're just in different. They're just in different business parking lots.
Oh, okay.
Some of them move around, but for the most part, they're all pretty stationary. But yeah, I don't think I've ever seen. And they're all Mexican food.
Oh, are they? They're all the Mexican food trucks? Okay.
Yeah. I don't think there's anything different.
But then, what about in the downtown Des Moines area? Is there many food trucks in downtown?
In downtown, well, I mean,
like around the office complexes and all that.
I think all of them come here and there. but nothing specifically downtown. I think they just opened. I think there's one that might be downtown, kind of, or pretty much always. That just opened up, but I haven't been to it yet, so I'm not 100% sure. But for the most part, you don't see them as much downtown. I mean, unless there's like big events. So we have an amphitheater at our waterworks, which is just down the road from my house. And when they do events, they have, I think, 6 food trucks.
Really?
Out there. Yeah. Huh. But I never see those food trucks any other time. So it's just really interesting.
Well, and it may also be the case that there's the city has regulations on, being on the streets in downtown and stuff like that.
I think, which would be good to have Darren on because he would actually know that information. But, yeah, I'm sure there is. Because Des Moines, you have to get a ton of permits and stuff anyway. I know that, I think Darren has even said on the podcast, and he can, if he listens, he can correct me, but I think he said that if he could stop coming downtown or like to Des Moines, he would. Just because they have so many more. Yeah, you have to do so much more just to do events down here.
Stay out in some of the cities in the outlying area and stuff.
Yeah. Which is, I mean, it kind of makes sense, but also it's a little surprising. Yeah. And I'm trying to think if I've ever, I think, most of the time, I don't even think I see that many in like West Des Moines or anything either. They're just in Ankeny and the south side.
Well, in West Des Moines,
that's where I've been trying to get Darren to take. No, it's more of to be honest, it's more of like our city. West Des Moines, where like all of our shopping centers and stuff are, and all that stuff. Well, so I think Darren's even said that if he could get the food truck permanently over there, he would.
But the problem you got there, you got so many restaurants already in existence, I'm sure. Yeah. And trying to deal with, with not overstepping your boundaries with them.
Yeah. Nah. It's Darren. Do you think that would really stop him?
No, it wouldn't.
Yeah, no, exactly. Exactly. I actually went to a food truck park this weekend, Randy.
Oh, really? Where at?
Friday. In St. Paul. But it wasn't, it was really interesting. So they called it the food truck park. Like that was what it was like, I think they called it the truck park.
Uh-huh.
And it was in the middle of, St. Paul, I don't know if you've ever been there, but it's obviously just like a little city. And it was like in the middle of it, in a building on a, so obviously it was a collection of buildings. It was in the middle and there was no actual food truck. They just had vendors, but it looked like permanent vendors. Isn't that fascinating? I was really excited because they're like, oh yeah, there's this food truck park. We can try all this stuff, which that you could. There were 3 very different kinds of food, but they were permanent vendors. And I'm not sure how they do it, but it was really interesting to me because it wasn't what I would have expected for to be called a food truck park.
Just smaller food kiosks.
Yeah, kind of. And it was a bar, so like they had a bar. It was a super cool place. It was so fun. But yeah, they had like a bar, and then they had 3 vendors, and it was like chicken and ribs was one, pizza was another, and Mexican food was another. So street tacos, I think were really just all they did. Which I had the street tacos, and they were delicious.
Yeah, there you go.
And then there's like live music and stuff, but when they said, hey, we're going to go check out this food truck park, I expected us to walk outside of, it was next door to our hotel. And I expected us to, go somewhere open with food trucks. But, yeah.
Well, I see that happening, the whole deal, and I think you've probably got some up in Des Moines. I know in St. Louis, a lot of other areas, they have where they'll have a bar. And it's maybe kind of like where they have their open air beer garden. That's where they'll have a couple trucks parked and stuff, and switch them out and stuff. And I've talked to some of these microbreweries and stuff, and it's just they don't want to get into the whole food thing. They're like, we know how
Yeah,
to make beer and brew beer and market beer. We don't have food, and
which
and and then the other thing of it is the cost of doing it. But just kind of like
yeah,
Darren's doing with the remodel at the breakfast jam.
yeah,
All of that cost, they don't have that cost. It's up to the food truck
right,
pulls up. Now, they miss out on some money in that, but
right.
in the long run, it might.
Well, yeah, because when I go to breweries here, and then like when I was in Charlotte, they had rotating food trucks at that one at a brewery that I was going to quite often in Charlotte, and then here a lot of our breweries do rotating food trucks.
Do they really?
But yeah, every once in a while they'll be like, "Oh, we're having this food truck," and stuff, which is awesome. And I think they get a little split of it sometimes. I think
Sure,
it depends
sure
on
they
which
do.
brewery you go to. And even the Smoky D's food truck has gone to a couple of breweries. Um, but yeah, it was. What was I going with that? Oh my gosh, I just lost my whole train of thought. But
About the food trucks at
yeah,
the breweries.
yeah, yeah, and I think they're a good idea. I think, yeah, because when I'm at a brewery, you do get hungry. So I think
Right.
I would rather kind of have the option to mix it up. So I think food trucks
Exactly.
going to breweries is a good idea. But yeah. Oh, and it was the food truck park. We kind of have one in Des Moines, sort of. It was built to be that,
Uh-huh.
and then it kind of fell through. And now it's
Right.
more of like a bar. It's a bar that has, I think, a standing vendor kind of situation.
Right.
Um just because it was easier that way. But because it was originally like they would have multiple food trucks coming in a night or a
Right.
weekend and stuff. But I always found it interesting that failed, or that
And
they
you
had to pivot that
you wonder why
idea.
what caused it to
Yeah,
fail. Is the biggest
yeah.
thing.
Well, and I think it's kind of like your food truck park. Like it's such an interesting concept, but why has it not? Like, why doesn't it necessarily work all the time?
And
You know what I mean?
and this one will work. I feel very
Yeah.
confident this one's going to work. It's just going to take some time.
Right.
That's kind of like our event we have on Fridays now.
Mm-hmm.
We're signed up for a few of those, and like I said, this past Friday it sucked. And well, it didn't
Yeah.
suck completely, but it wasn't as good as we'd
Right.
like. We need it to be what we need it to be. And
Mm-hmm.
but as time goes on, it'll probably keep growing. It'll hopefully
Yeah.
grow and get more notoriety to it and stuff. So that's kind of the same way with some of the food truck park here. I think he's on, but I didn't want to.
On to something. Yeah.
I couldn't afford to have, you know, for what we normally sell in Jacksonville. I couldn't take that big of a hit
Right.
for several
Do you think it'd
weeks.
be one of those things that you would reconsider? Like once, maybe give it a year or two, once it gets
Yes.
established?
Yeah.
He said, would you come back?
Yeah.
That makes sense.
We would. We would.
And do you think food trucks, do you think it would be, for food truck parks specifically, do you think it would be better do you think it would be more successful during lunch or dinner?
I don't know.
Huh. Because I would always go, I personally, when I go to a food truck, most of the time it's for dinner.
Okay. Well,
But, yeah.
it
I
may
don't
be, but do you go to the food truck park for dinner other than Friday and Saturday, or do you?
No, well, whenever my parents decide that's where they want to go for happy
Okay.
hour. So
Okay.
that could be during the week, every
Yeah.
once in a while. But yeah, I don't know. Most of the time I just don't ever, I don't know why. But I get it for like when you go to like a business, when they have lunches, like I would
Right.
get food truck food
Right.
then, but most of the time I don't seek out a food truck. unless it's for dinner.
Yeah.
Now that
Well,
I'm thinking about it, kind of
that's
odd.
one of the things we've done is we've targeted
Yeah.
an area there in Springfield that the whole hospital, the medical district, and
Right.
you've kind of got a pretty closed crowd there. They can't go many
Yeah.
places for the limited
Yeah.
time, and that they can come to our place. And I would say 70% of our customers walk to the food truck. 60 to 70 easy.
Yeah.
They're
Right.
not drive ups,
Yeah, most of the time. Yeah. That makes sense.
And
That makes sense.
so that's kind of the market we have,
Mhm. Yeah.
But
Huh.
yeah, I'll definitely. I think he'll succeed with that food truck park. It'll be good.
Oh, yeah. It's such
And
a cool concept to me.
Well, and you
And I've
start as
noticed
you
it more at
go
like music festivals and stuff.
right, and he's going to
People
start
just like to have
taking.
options.
He's going to start. He's going to have like permanent bathrooms there. He's going to have
Mhm.
music on Friday evenings and stuff like that. So that might be
Oh, yeah.
that'll be
That's
a
going to
draw,
be huge. Once it gets. That makes sense. Yeah. Yeah. I always think it's interesting because yeah, like those music festivals that I go to, obviously there's food truck galore.
Is it really?
We have one here in well, it's in St. Charles, so it's about 40 minutes from Des Moines.
Right.
And I think it had last year when I went, it was the first time I'd gone, and I think I saw 7 or 8 food trucks. And they were trucks. It wasn't even like tents, which I thought was fascinating.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
And I get that sometimes too of people that don't know what kind of vehicle we have.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I had it before when I had the trailer, and probably noticed it more. People would go, "So you've got a food truck you can bring?" And I said, "Well, actually, it's a trailer."
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, we were wanting a food truck, and I'm like, it's the same. Well, let me get back with you on that if we're going to need you or not. And they never call back.
Yeah. Right. And I think, do you ever think that part of it is also like the ambiance of like a food truck?
Oh, no question. No question in my mind.
Yeah.
No question in my mind.
Just because especially in those situations, like a food truck just feels, I don't know how to, I don't know how I want to say it, but a food truck just kind of feels like it fits the vibes of like, especially festivals and stuff.
Yeah.
And maybe the aesthetic, like the get your food on wheels kind of thing, even though a trailer
Trailer's
it's the same thing. It doesn't look the part.
No.
Yeah, but it doesn't look the part,
Exactly.
Huh.
Exactly.
That's interesting. It's interesting how that works.
And if I owned a food trailer, I'd probably be talking everything the other way, But I've owned a food trailer.
I guess that's fair. Yeah.
I've owned
Yeah, you've done it both.
I've owned 2 for real food trailers, and then one mobile kitchen that was on wheels. The very first thing we bought. And
what's the difference? Genuine. I don't know the difference.
Well, the mobile kitchen was a huge trailer. I mean, it was
okay.
And it had a freezer in it. It had our food truck does too, but it had a bigger freezer in it, a bigger cooler. Had ovens in it. It was a complete kitchen on wheels. And then we had a barbecue pit on the back of it. And I mean, you had to have a pretty good sized truck to pull it. And I forget, it was like 32 foot long. So, our food truck's 30 foot long. So, I mean, that's when I asked for spaces, I asked for 32. But the trailer, I didn't have a big enough truck to pull it. So it kind of it told you where it wanted to go, kind of deal.
Yeah.
But it had it was a full kitchen, and that's what we started out with when we weren't for sure.
Okay.
When we started out in the very beginning, of course, Darren said, build a kitchen. Go ahead, put up a shed, build a kitchen, and just be done with it. And I'm like, no, I'm
Do you
not
think
going
he
to
was?
do that. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to buy a trailer, a fully
Yeah.
manufactured kitchen in a trailer, and see how things go. And he's like, things are going to go well. Build a shed and a kitchen. Well, I don't know how much longer it was after that. We built a kitchen, and after we bought it and had it, we built a kitchen and a shed and a kitchen and stuff. Like he said, we should have done in the front in the beginning, and we could have saved some money on it, you know. But woulda, coulda, shoulda is a lot of things, you know.
Yeah.
And then the first I had actually at one time had a trailer and a food truck that I got from California. And
right.
Those California trucks, I forget there's a brand of them, but it's the ones that have the louvered tops you see open and stuff, and you see big out in California. That's pretty well what everybody has. They look like a bread truck. They're, you know, our UPS truck, but they're actually built for that. They've got fryers in them, flat tops in them.
Yeah.
And you open them up, and the one thing I really liked about it, I thought was neat, when you opened up the serving windows, it had the place down below that you could put ice in it, and you could put drinks and stuff, so people could just, if you had cold items, they could just pick them up right out of there. But winters were just, I mean, even when it got a little cool, there's no insulation in them at all, and they were kind of a booger to keep going. So you froze up. Did you say something?
No, I thought you froze up.
No, okay, but no, they were kind of a challenge to keep going and stuff. Now, if you bought a new one and had a new one, and you could have made for what you wanted to, but this was a used one I'd bought, taco truck out of California. So
yeah,
I think we're both freezing up some.
Love that. Well, I mean, we did a good 50 minutes almost.
Yeah.
47.
Yeah. Now we're having a little freeze up problem. So
yeah. So we could probably cut this episode a little short.
Well, and I
think it was educational.
Yeah, we talked a lot about food trucks and stuff, and if anybody has any comments, feel free to. Where do they need to leave their comments?
Send them. You can send them to @QTheMicPod on anything, social media. I get notifications for all of our messages.
Okay.
So Facebook, Instagram, a whole shebang. Those are definitely the two we're most active on, but I get them for all.
Well, and at
also
the
on
same time,
YouTube,
if anybody
you can leave
has
comments.
any questions about food trucks that we haven't covered,
you
know, on the operations of them
barbecue.
and stuff like that, you know, just give us a call, drop us an email, and we'll address it on the next session. So
yeah, send them to @QTheMicPod or even @Twyford Barbecue if you want a more immediate response about the situation or about the question.
Yeah. So anything else?
I think I'm good. What about you?
That's good. So shall we sign off?
We shall. We shall
sign off.
Yeah.
Oh, do your ending.
Hit it. Well, I kind of did it already.
Okay.
I already did it. So hit him with a boom.
Boom. Done. We're out of here.
Okay. We'll see you guys next week.